So if you haven't heard, you will hear by now pretty soon. A man named Robert Fuller was found hanging from a tree in Palmdale, California, near City Hall. And what's really interesting is there are two completely different stories being told. There's one story being told that said that this is a suspected suicide. If we look over here in the AV Times, it has this listed as suspected suicide, a body found hanging from a tree. The victim has been identified as Robert Fuller. An online fundraiser has been established to help cover the cost of his burial. What's interesting is that they say all indicators point to a suicide, and they say sadly it's not the first such incident since COVID-19 pandemic began, city officials said. And that's really, really interesting. Many people are suffering from extreme mental anguish, and the city wants everyone to know that help is available. So what they're doing in one way is that they're trying to tie this to mental health. They're saying that there's something wrong with this kid. The COVID-19 is caused this to happen, and that he needed access to mental health resources, which is a completely different story than what you're seeing on Twitter. Because on Twitter, this person is saying that he was lynched in 2020. The raw anger he feels is indescribable. This person saying that the reason that the authorities are saying that this is a suicide is because they don't want scrutiny of the white supremacists who live there. Absolutely. I promise you there are some white supremacists who live there, because there are white supremacists who lived in where I grew up. That's the thing about this stuff. And that's why we're having two completely different stories, two complete different universes. And I actually have like a visual representation of it because I have three screens. I can see, like, on one side, people believe one thing, and on one side, people are believing another. And I don't know yet. I don't have enough information, I feel, to make a determination. I think that for anybody to say that it's not possible that this is a cover up, though, for anyone to say that it's not possible, for anyone to say that it's not possible that this young man was lynched at 23 years old, for anyone to say that that's possible, that would be racism to me. That would absolutely be racism to me. For you to say that you can't even consider the possibility where something like that would happen, that would be racism. And then on the other hand, if you can't say it's possible, there may be a possibility that this person committed suicide, but it's probably not likely. It is probably not likely. Even in the story, it says all indicators point to a suicide, but investigators are waiting for full autopsy results and information from the man's next of kin regarding past issues with mental illness. What does that happen? Whether suicide or homicide, this hanging in Palmdale has the potential to push the United States past the point of no return, converting the tragedy of a young man's death into a tragedy for all Americans and for the world. No one should have that. But what the hell? I don't know what this person's even talking. What does this mean? What does this even mean? I feel sick. This happened in my town to a boy I went to school with. Palmdale government has already declared this a suicide, despite the fact that the autopsy hadn't been completed. I think that's a really interesting point. That's such an interesting point. How do you declare this a suicide and the autopsy hasn't been done yet? And you know what's so interesting? Things like this happen, we would never ever know about them if we didn't have Twitter. If we didn't have Twitter, if we didn't have these things, people would never ever know about it. I don't know, man. It's better!